Hello and welcome to another analysis behind the news, where we provide the perspective that you can use to help save American liberty and independence. When the media is having a circus day with just one event, usually it's a good idea to divert your attention to see what important events they are missing. For instance, amid all of the circus coverage of the Justice Kavanaugh hearings, Congress did not come to a halt to see how these hearings would play out. No, they were busy working. Do you know the significance of October 1st? It's not a holiday, and most Americans, including most of its devoted patriots, would not really think there is anything particularly noteworthy about the date. However, October 1st is the beginning of the federal government's next fiscal year. And so what, you might ask? Well, that means a budget needs to be assembled and agreed upon in order to keep the federal government functioning in the new fiscal year. Now, did you hear of a budget being submitted, debated, and passed? Well, it's a trick question. Actually, no one did, because Congress hasn't followed these practical guidelines in recent memory. It relies on stopgap measures that are short-term continuing resolutions. After signing a massive spending omnibus bill in March of this year, President Trump said he would never again sign another one, which put Republicans on the hook for being responsible to appropriately fund the government. But what did we see them do? Well, they again waited until the last minute and assembled another stopgap measure that funds the government until after the midterm elections, knowing full well that a government shutdown, as well as an honest and open debate about spending, would not play well with voters. So, with no fanfare, this was passed by Congress and signed into law by the President during the Kavanaugh circus proceedings. So, with all of the media focused on the circus, this was all conveniently buried or ignored. Now, having said all of that, allow me to crank up the sarcasm machine. Leadership in Congress has no real appetite to be responsible and work within its constitutional limitations. And on the whole, the American people do not appear to have an appetite to create the pressure that will hold their congressmen accountable to the Constitution. So maybe it's a good thing that Congress continues to work themselves out of a job. After all, the majority of Congress's spending is done without their input. It's basically on autopilot. It's called mandatory spending. This includes all of the entitlement programs. To change the course of this spending, Congress must act. If they don't act, the program just continues unabated. Discretionary spending is what all the media hoopla is about when Congress actually does debate it. But this spending is just a fraction of the whole. Congress has also placed the war powers on autopilot as well, delegating that power to the President for the most part. They also have delegated much of the power of regulating commerce with foreign nations to the President, while only giving themselves a final up or down vote. And what we find in these trade agreements is not only a willingness, but a historically well-traveled path that leads independent countries into servitude to an unaccountable regional government. So, Congress won't need to act. A governmental body above them will act in their place. This is what those member countries in the European Union have to deal with. Case in point, let me read to you from the Daily Brief, which is published by Foreign Brief. Headline: Italian Politics. Subtitle: Rome to submit controversial budget to European Commission for review process. Getting into the article. Italy will submit its draft budget for the next 3 years to the European Commission today, which will then review the plan to check if it follows EU policy. The southern European country has experienced a tumultuous year both economically and politically. Italy's debt, now 130% of GDP, and the second largest in the Eurozone, represents a significant risk for the rest of the continent and the world. Indeed, as many economists believe a global financial crisis is overdue, some have predicted Italy to be the origin point. However, the final budget remains to be seen as the heated debate rages within Italy's ruling coalition over its contents. While the country's deficit is estimated to be around 2% of GDP, party promises of a guaranteed income and a flat tax threaten to push it over the 3% EU cap. Such a scenario could see the budget proposal sent back to Rome for revision. However, doing so would only give Italy's populist government a scapegoat for its economy's problems. Instead, expect the Commission to give Rome some breathing room over the 3% cap, barring its proposal poses a significant threat to the European economy. Did you get all that? And what did you get out of that? Did you get that an independent country has to submit its budget to a governmental body above its own? It's required to get it vetted by this unaccountable bureaucracy to see if it is in line with EU rules. In fact, it's not just Italy that has to do this. All EU members must do this. And they've been doing this since 2013. So what would your reaction be to an outside force telling America it had to do this? Well, hopefully you tell them to just go pound sand. But if Congress continues down the road they are on, they will have to do the same thing before too long. As they continue to delegate their constitutional authority away to other branches and eventually to other bodies of government not within the American system of government, they, as well as every American, will become subservient to regional government and then to world government. Folks, this should not happen on our watch. To protect American liberty and independence, we must get Congress to work within its constitutional limitations. We must also get states to use constitutional tools to safeguard these limitations. And we must stop delegating away our constitutional powers. Now that's quite the tall order, isn't it? Yet, there is one organization, only one, that has the plan to get this done. It's the John Birch Society. And we've been working this plan for 60 years. So think of where America would be in the global scheme of things if JBS had not been there. And if the thought of being subservient to an unaccountable few above American government bothers you, then it's time to join JBS and get involved. Now we have one action alert in the video description that you can use to let Congress know to stop being involved in these globalist schemes. But we also have a link to find out who your local coordinator is. So contact him to learn of local opportunities for membership activities. We meet, we plan, we act. And with your help, we will win. So please, contact us today. And like and share this video, and subscribe to our social media channels and news alerts. So until next time, we'll see you then.